Before I break down exactly what I do to stay ripped every single summer, I want to come clean about the title of today's podcast episode, and in particular the term ripped. To put it bluntly, I do not give a shit about the term ripped or being ripped, but what I do care passionately about is the feelings, the benefits, and the impact on my life, those I love most, and the things I value most that being in great physical shape across the summer brings. So yes, you probably tuned into this podcast wanting to know what I do with my training, my movement, my food across a summer period, because yes, it does have to be different to other periods of the year. Okay, but before I break those things down, the biggest thing I want you to take away from today's podcast is my mentality. Right? I know what I'm talking about. Right? You simply cannot fluke your way to staying in shape across the summer. And you probably think, why should I listen to you? Well, for the last 24 years, I've come out of every single summer just as lean as I went into it. And before you're thinking, yeah, but you've had no life, you probably haven't done a lot, it's absolute nonsense. Every single summer, across those 24, I've traveled across multiple different countries, gone on multiple holidays, eaten out every week, during the week, in fact, as well, across the summer, drank pretty much every week within those 24 summers, eat my favorite foods, had special occasions, weddings, you name it, probably done it. Okay, but I've never ever done these things without and contradicted, the way I want to look. And more specifically than that, for the best part of 24, 25 years, I've had a six-pack and, in abbreviated terms, managed to stay ripped. That's nearly 9,000 days. Okay? Again, you cannot fluke your way to that. And look, to be fully transparent, my motives for being ripped and having a six-pack and being in great shape in my 20s are a lot different to what they are now. But this is going to be my point when it comes to maintaining motivation and discipline with the things you do to do with your training, your movement, your food. Okay, in my 20s, early 20s, I associated being in great shape and having a six-pack with attracting better girls, and I thought that was the only way I was going to be able to do that, right? Maybe helped, right? But there's no substance to that, right? Certainly didn't meet my princess, my queen, doing that, all right? And it was from a place of self-sabotage. But whichever way I sugarcoat it, I still evolved from my teens, my 20s, my early 30s, and touching 40 now, one way or another, staying in peak physical shape. May have had to adapt my system, but I've always maintained a six-pack and a physical identity that I've always been happy to look at. All right? And the main point I want to get today, in today's episode is, right, the things I'm going to share to do with training, movement, and food, right, they work, they will work, but you're never actually going to follow through on them if you aren't emotionally connected or understand the deeper value of being in great shape across these summer months that being in great shape brings. The key take-home message that I want to re-emphasize continually across this episode is be happy with how you look, but get addicted to how you feel as a result of being happy with the way you look. When you can stack up the emotional value and the added benefits that being in great shape, particularly across the summer months, brings, God, you will follow through with the actions, the behaviors, and the things you know you should do, even when you don't want to do them. Okay? Because if it's as simple as going, oh, here's what you do with your training, your movement, your food, why is it that millions and millions and millions and millions of people on this earth come out of summer significantly heavier than what they went into it? Significantly lower in energy than what they kicked off the summer with. Lower in confidence than what they kicked off the summer with. Because discipline falls off, standards fall short. People forget why it's important. They want to feel a certain way. Because what you've got to think of, and I'm guessing if you are listening to this podcast, you're an entrepreneur, you are in a higher position within your career, or you own a business or multiple businesses, and you work very, very hard. You work very, very hard, to make the money needed to go on nice holidays, stay in those nice hotels, buy nice clothes, treat your family to great experiences. But if you are not happy with how you look, that will affect your experiences with the things that you've worked so hard to create. If you're not happy with how you look, you'll be forever relying on spending even more money on designer clothes to mask over the insecurities or the gap in how you want to look from how you actually look. Okay? But if you can work towards having both, happy with how you look, happy with how you feel, and maintaining discipline with your habits around these occasions, around the holidays, around your barbecues, whatever it is that you like to do across the summer, you will enjoy your summer more, and you won't give yourself a mountain to climb the other side of it. And that is one of the things we pride ourselves on within Built to Last is we don't just want our clients looking good for a few months at the start of the year. We want to make sure that our clients feel good across the whole year. Because given the choice, I don't believe anyone, if they look themselves in the mirror, would choose to look and feel like shit at any point of the year, but especially during summer. When this is the period, don't forget that generally speaking, we're in more swimwear, we're wearing less clothes, and there's nothing worse than feeling self-conscious about how you look when you've worked so hard to create these experiences in the first place. Okay? And if you do run a business and you are an entrepreneur, I want you to think about the impact on your professional output, productivity across the summer if you let your standards with your physical shape and physical health go to shit, or be significantly lower with your standards than before you kicked off the summer, right? Because I'm yet to coach an entrepreneur or business owner that completely stops all work to do with their company or within their line of business across those 3 months across the summer. They still need to make money. They still might have a team to run. They still might need to make sales, basically influence and grow. You're not going to do that if you take your foot off the pedal with your body shape. So if you can get crystal clear from a mindset perspective of, if I'm not in great shape or maintaining great energy levels across a 3-month period across the summer, how will that affect my business? How will that affect my mood, my energy, when I'm with my children, my partner, on my holidays across the summer? Right? When you can get crystal clear with those questions, you will do the things that I'm going to share when it comes to your movement, your training, your food. Out of all the years I've been coaching, those who can articulate why it's important, they are in great physical shape across the summer, are more likely to stay in great physical shape across the summer, right? And if that sounds a little bit heavy, and you don't want to take time to think about that, or at least put pen to paper, then you're lining yourself up to fail, and you probably listened to the wrong podcast. You know, I want people to be just as happy with how they look and with how they feel about themselves, within themselves, as they do with the purchasing of, a week's holiday, a 2 weeks holiday, a house, a car, a fancy designer clothes, whatever the fuck it is that they value most. Okay? There's nothing better than feeling good about yourself and about your body, paired with a great business and great relationships. So the little framework I want to go through is really, really simply helping you to identify what is a minimum standard scenario that you are going to do with your training, your movement, your food, and what is a best case scenario with your training, your movement, your food. Okay? When you go into each week within the summer, where you know in your mind that no matter what you've got on, you always have a minimum standard and a worst case scenario, then when you can also identify what your best case scenario is and a maximum standard, then you know you're always going to keep yourself in a certain sweet spot. You're going to have some weeks across a summer where you don't have as much on, where you can really keep training standards high, food even more on point. And you're going to have some weeks across the summer where, you do want to down tools a little bit more, but you don't want to have this on it, off it mentality, this fuck it, or this I'm back on it, I'm back off it. You're just going to forever yo-yo with your weight, your shape, your confidence, and you're just going to come out the summer, not feeling good about yourself, okay? So what I tend to see in a lot of people, all my years of coaching, helping people, a worst case scenario for the average person, but especially for entrepreneurs and business owners that we work with, is no forward thinking, reactive choices, coming back and looking like shit at the end of summer, basically undoing months of good work. There's nothing more demoralizing than having put the work in up to the summer, where you try to get that summer body, and then you undo it all. And let me tell you this, some coaches won't share this. You can radically destroy your physique within a matter of 3, 4, 5 days, especially a week to 10 days, if you completely down tools with your training, your food, and your movement, but especially food, right? You can really, really self-sabotage and put on weight faster than you can blink. But on the flip side, you can still enjoy yourself without undoing all those months of good work. For me, a best case scenario is controlling your choices while still having fun, looking and feeling great during and post holiday. More importantly, the most important thing, if you have a business and you have a family, and especially if you have kids, is maintaining your energy and mental and physical vibrancy for your family, bringing the best of who you are to the people you care about most, right? Because yes, it's great to treat your partner, treat your kids to fancy hotels and be able to buy for them whatever they want, but above all else, they want the best of you, and you can't do that if you're not in great physical shape. More importantly, you can't do that without great physical energy. Right? So I just want you to think about that. So how do we do that? One of the ways to maintain happiness week to week across the summer, and if you break it down logically, right, you've got 12 weeks approximately across the summer. What I challenge you, and this is what we do with all of our clients, is how can you match your expectations and win each week, or maximize your outcome each week across those 12 weeks, okay? Because the better you match your expectations, the happier you're going to feel across the summer. So what you need to do, coming to training, movement, and food now, is every single day and week, decide how much you'll move and train each day. Decide when you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, and when you need to eat less. You're going to have to manipulate your weeks a little bit smarter than what you do in other periods of the year. And continually try and focus on your weakest habit. Try and control your weakest habit week to week. Try and simplify the things that in previous years, or probably, let me say that again, simplify how to control your weakest habit. And if you're not sure what your weakest habit is, have a look at the last 3 to 5 summers and think, what is the habit that lets me down most? And how can you gain more control of that week to week across the summer? Even if you did nothing else from this podcast, but you identified what has been my weakest habit over the last 3 to 5 years across the summer, and how can I do less of it, replace it, or remove it completely? Even that alone will make a big difference to how you look and how you feel, okay? Now, what I'm going to share with you now is what we share with our Built to Last clients is movement and training tips. And what we do is we have, in relation to movement and training, an absolute minimum, bare minimum standard. We have a good standard, and we have a very, very good standard. And if you really want to push the boat out, we have an exceptional standard or excellent standard. Okay? What we don't want is having no standard, no non-negotiables across your summer, right? Because the harsh reality is this: if you're completely down tools with your movement and your training, paired with naturally eating more food, which, again, I'm yet to coach anyone who doesn't eat more food across the summer, especially when you're on holidays. You will, again, as I keep saying, you're going to put on weight very, very quickly. So an absolute minimum standard I recommend, even on a bad week across the summer, is walk 10,000 steps a day, right? Basically move your body, aim to move your body for around an hour a day, okay? Or if you're on holiday and that wasn't practical to do all of those steps, even though I think even if you walked for 5 minutes, within every hour you're awake, you're going to hit 10,000 steps. Get yourself in the gym and lift a couple of work sets within a typical normal workout. Of course, I'm a big fan of full body workouts. That's what myself and my clients do. But your minimum standard that I would recommend every week across the summer is getting a walk in, 10K steps, maybe even a 40-minute or a 40-minute run, or do a workout with 2 work sets. Basically, try and move your body for 1 hour. Even if you broke it down into 2 30 minutes, okay? And even if you're thinking, yeah, but I've got kids, I'm on holiday and all this stuff, you can still move your body for 5 minutes within every hour, and you'd walk minimum hour up to 90 minutes easily. It's going to hit a solid step target, and it's carrying your body weight around. What is a good target if you don't want to go for the bare minimum? Get a session in. Again, 2 work sets within each workout, and hit 5K steps on top of that. Basically, aim to exercise for around 90 minutes in a day. What is very good is, again, we're just extending the duration here, is complete a workout with 2 work sets within each exercise of a workout, plus either some additional cardio, and I recommend around 20 minutes, or 7K steps, so it's a notch up from 5. Or if you didn't want to go to the gym that day, stretch yourself to a 20K step walk. It's going to take between 90 minutes to 2 hours, right? And you can break that down in smaller segments, right? Myself, my clients, it's not always practical to do a 90-minute walk. I don't know many entrepreneurs who can, but again, you can break it down across multiple segments across your day. But what I'm trying to paint a picture here is, right, there isn't a magic theory here of like clever tactic with your food and get away with no movement. You know, you're going to find it very, 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 very hard to stay in shape if you're not moving your body, but you're eating more food. It just doesn't work. The maths do not lie. Okay? So that'd be very good. And of course, if you wanted to be a complete savage across the summer, which some of our clients are, right, and they still find time with family, exceptional is nothing changes. You smash all your workouts as normal. You smash all your step targets as normal. Maybe even some additional cardio. Right? Yes, it might take a couple of hours a day if you factor in your steps and obviously a workout. But right, one of the things I do, right, with my movement, I'm always a good, a very good, or exceptional. I'm always a good, a very good, or exceptional. I never, ever, ever, ever do not move my body, even on holiday. Even on holiday. I get it done as early as I possibly can. I enjoy my day more. I guarantee if you move your body as early as you possibly can in the day, even before the kids are up if you've got a family, right, you would enjoy the rest of your day and you'd enjoy the rest of your holiday more. And you'd bring the best of who you are to your children, to your partner on that holiday, on that given day. Right? But just make sure you have clarity in your mind with your movement on a given day, given week, right? Which option, am I going to go for today? Is it an absolute minimum of an hour's movement, maybe through steps or, a couple of work sets within a given workout? Am I going to go to a good standard, maybe where I get 2 work sets and some extra steps, 5K? Or am I going to crank it up and eat a little bit more move a little bit more with my steps and go from 5 to 7K and a workout? Or am I just going to get a mammoth walk in? But if you want to be a real savage, nothing changes. Smash your sessions, get your step target in, okay? Get your cardio in. And by default as well, you'll be able to handle more food across the summer. It's that simple, okay? Food. This, let's not sugarcoat this, is the reason why a lot of people really, really struggle across the summer, because there's more temptations, more occasions. Basically, there's more opportunities to overconsume food because you're not in control of the food quantity and the food volume put in front of you. But what you are in control of is how much you choose to eat or not eat. No one is forcing food in your mouth. No one is forcing drink down your throat, as I've said on previous episodes. You have to take responsibility, okay? Anyone who says you can eat and drink whatever you want across the summer and come out in the same shape or anywhere near to that shape is absolutely talking shit, okay? You need certain standards. So for me, the worst case scenario and bad, which is what you want to avoid, is eating and drinking whatever you want every day. And I'm sure you don't do that, right? I'm sure you don't do that. But you know when you've overdone the eating and drinking because you start to feel guilty, you start to feel a lot heavier, sluggish, and I don't believe anyone wants to feel like that. For me, you haven't enjoyed your holiday as much as you said you have if you've eaten and drank yourself to death. It's absolute horse shit, right? You haven't enjoyed your holiday if the whole holiday was consumed with eating as much as you can, because you might be at all-you-can-eat buffets and getting your money's worth, drinking as much as you can. You're going to come back absolutely ruined after that holiday. And for that week or two's enjoyment during the holiday period, you're going to pay for it with weeks and weeks and weeks of guilt, lethargic energy, and having to make up for it by putting in even more drastic bouts of movement and extra training and drastic calorie cuts to try and get yourself back to anywhere near where you were pre-holiday. And I don't believe any 40, 50, 60-year-old man, certainly not the ones we coach, wants to do that. Okay? Ask yourself if you are tempted to consistently overeat, drink, or both. Why are you doing it? What's missing? Yes, of course, we all like eating and drinking food. We all like eating and drinking alcohol, But if it's going to affect how you feel afterwards and you're doing it for the sake of it, it gets fucking boring after a while, especially if you feel like shit. And if you keep doing it, it's a choice. Okay? So what I recommend as a real simple strategy across the summer, especially on holiday, especially if you're like me and a lot of our clients, where generally speaking, we want to eat, and if drink's your thing, drink more in the evenings, then what I suggest is you have to cleverly box smarter during the day before these evening occasions. So what I maintain you do across a holiday, but will still be a huge win, is eat 2 main meals max, possibly 2 and a shake to get your protein intake in. But I think what is practical for a lot of people, especially on a holiday, is 2 main meals where you have maybe a late breakfast, okay, possibly a little snack in between, but make sure it's protein if you do, but more so have a decent breakfast, and I'll explain how I'd break that breakfast down, but then leave more buffer for calories in the evening. Yes, is it optimal maybe for optimal protein synthesis? Maybe not, but it's realistic. If you know you are going to consume at least 1,000 to 1,500 to maybe even 2,000 calories in the evening through food and alcohol, if that's your thing, something has to give during the day. If you overconsume calories during the day, you are certainly going to overconsume them in the evening. If you start bad, so often it's the ripple effect and you'll eat even more. Okay? So what I would do, especially on a holiday, but this strategy can work maybe if you've got a social occasion, even if you're on your home turf and you're not actually on holiday. First meal, if eating 2. And what I recommend if you have 2 plus a shake is just have a protein shake with water or unsweetened almond milk, so it's purely protein, right? If you do want 3 bouts of protein intake. But whether you do that or not, your first meal, make sure it's high protein, choosing leaner protein sources if you want to eat more carbs. So what I mean by leaner protein sources is things like egg whites, tuna steak, chicken, sea bass, cod. These are going to be leaner protein sources, but going to allow more calories that can come through carbs. So your first meal, I'd have high protein either way, low to medium carbs, low to medium fats. I'd make sure the food quality is absolutely exceptional, bare minimal processed. The most processed thing I would eat in my first meal over a summer, pretty much across the year, to be honest, if I was ever going to do this, would be bread, toast. If I was having eggs on toast, and even then I'd make sure it was a higher quality. And that first meal would never, ever, ever have any added sugar. I never, ever waste calories on juices, orange juice, apple juice. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. Don't drink your calories if you're trying to save more calories to eat later in the day. Okay, so that'd be my first meal. And that wants to be a fraction of the percentage of calories for your daily allowance. Okay? The second meal, this is where I pretty much eat whatever I want within reason. But again, it'd be first thing I'm thinking about when I'm eating, on a holiday in particular, is where am I getting my protein from? And if I want to allow for more calories through carbs, fats, and alcohol, again, I would choose a leaner protein source. If you're going to have a steak, if you're going to have a salmon, then that's fine. Just accept that there's more calories through fats within these protein sources. So you may have to go lower in carbs on that evening meal. Okay? But what I would do in the evening is eat whatever you want, high protein. Carbs be medium to high. I never go really, really high carbs. If I'm being more relaxed in terms of rich food, it might be for a restaurant. It might be a few extra glazes, etc. More oils. Okay, so I don't go as crazy with my carbs in that evening meal. The fats would be low to medium. The food quality would still be great. It'd be still barely minimal processed. And if I'm going to have added sugar, which to be honest, I barely eat just because it makes me feel like shit the next day. If you're going to have any added sugar, basically dessert, I wouldn't drink. If you're going to have dessert and booze, nothing's going to accumulate body fat quicker than if you're eating what you want within reason in that evening meal in terms of your main, and then you're having a dessert and alcohol as well. You'll eat and drink thousands of calories before you can blink. All right? So on a holiday, for example, if I was going to maybe have a certain occasion on where I was going to have dessert, booze, and maybe go indulge as a whole, with my meal, which is totally cool. If you have the mental capabilities to follow that up with the discipline, with your training, your food, then I would do it absolute max 1 to 2 times over a week on a week's holiday. If you are eating desserts and drinking alcohol every single evening, you are going to put on body fat rapidly. And if you don't want to do that, then I suggest you don't eat desserts and drink alcohol every single evening. Okay? You're going to make it very, very hard for yourself. Most desserts are best part of 500 calories if you're lucky. A few drinks, similar, 500 calories if you're lucky. Pair that with a big evening meal. Before you know it, you've done thousands of calories. And if your movement's a little bit less than usual, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to break down that you're going to get fat very quickly. All right? So just to summarize that, have 2 main meals, possibly 2 main meals and a shake if you just wanted to stagger your protein distribution. But if you're going to have 2 main meals and a shake, make sure it's just 2 scoops of a whey isolate with water or unsweetened almond milk. And then from your 2 main meals, make sure the first meal is really high protein, as low calories as possible without starving. To do that, I would have low to medium carbs, low to medium fats. Make sure your food quality is really, really high. because by default, you'll naturally control the quantity of your calories, and it'll fill you up more. So it'll preserve hunger until later on when you want to eat more food, and never waste calories on juices. Then your evening meal, eat whatever you want within reason, but especially on a holiday period, make sure if you're having desserts or booze or both, do that a couple of times max across a week's holiday. Okay? That's what I would do. Now, in terms of if you wanted to be exceptional, we wanted not a good standard, but exceptional, you'd still maintain your average protein and calorie targets. And you would avoid processed and added sugar foods. Right? I would never completely recommend, as I say to all my clients, to never touch processed food. And if you do like a dessert or two, that's fine. But if you're nowhere near where you want to be physically, don't do it. Don't do it. It won't make you happy. Or try and have a win that you do it significantly less than what you did last year or last summer. Okay? Focus just as much on how do I want to feel about myself, just as much as how I want to feel when I'm eating that dessert or having that drink. Because everything we do is to chase a feeling. And if we're gorging on desserts and alcohol, usually it's from a place of a lack of control, especially if we feel guilty afterwards. And that'll be your feedback. Okay? And if all of that sounded a little bit too much and you think, okay, God, that sounds a bit too technical. Okay, no problem. But if you don't want to listen to that, then just maybe to manage your expectations, you're not going to look or feel the way you want to the other side of the summer. But a common sense tip I would use, right? And I say this to our clients. You will, over a summer period, have occasions where you planned to eat a certain amount, drink a certain amount, and that goes out the window. Maybe because you get carried away in the moment, you're having a great time. It happens. I've done it with food and booze and both over those 24 summers. But if ever I have woken up feeling like shit, bloated, heavy, that is an indication that I've clearly eaten and or drank too much than I intended to, and my output was likely to be lower. Because you don't just wake up feeling bloated and heavy with no good reason. You've created that feeling, right? So rather than dwell on it, what's done's done. If that negatively impacts how you want to feel, I would eat less the next day. I would aim to move more the next day. I would drink less the next day, right? Use common sense. Use that cue, that negative cue of feeling bloated and heavy as an indication to move more, drink less, eat less the next day, okay? Just so you can get back to more of a level playing field. But what you want to try and avoid is that all or nothing mentality. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've been in this game long enough. Nothing makes you feel worse than when you're constantly telling yourself, I'm on it, I'm off it, I'm on it, I'm off it. You'd never be on it or off it in your business. So apply that mindset with your body, especially over the summer, and watch how much better you feel and how much more you enjoy these experiences that you've worked so hard to create for yourself and your family. Okay. I always like to end with these podcasts with a couple of questions. If you've listened to any of the solo episodes before, and this is a question I pose to my clients ahead of every summer. How can I enjoy my holiday and be present with my family today without contradicting how I want to look and feel at the end of this holiday? And even more simpler than that, what is the one habit I will control this holiday? If you can ask yourself the question, what is one habit I will control this holiday? And I strongly urge that you choose your weakest habit or your current Achilles heel, the one that basically makes you put on weight quicker, affects your energy in a negative way, affects how you want to look, how you want to feel. If you can get a grip on that one habit by doing it less, removing it, or replacing it, the momentum you'll create will be phenomenal. And more importantly, as I've said on this podcast, you'll manage your expectations. So remember, the formula for happiness is this. are my living conditions, my actions, my habits, my behaviors aligned to my expectations, my targets, my outcome, what I actually want and what I want to feel. And the more you can keep yourself in check with how you're living and what you want, and keep that aligned, then you're going to enjoy your summer so much more. Okay? And that's that. The one quote, I said it earlier in the podcast that I want you to come back on is be happy with how you look, but get addicted to how you feel as a result of being happy with how you look. Because when you are someone who values just as much how you feel and values discipline and values the feeling of being consistent with how you actually look, they will both take care of each other. Okay? So I hope that's helped. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.